Chapter 6. Training Begins. The rest of the weekend was an insane blur of workouts, sparring matches, and endless questions with Miss Turner, Marcel, Rory, and Selena. Most questions could be answered by Selena or Marcel, with whom both Oliver and Rory were developing a close friendship very quickly. The ones they were unable to answer were taken up by Miss Turner, now known as Dominus Holly, as she had asked to be called. It didn't take very long for Oliver to realize the extent to which all of this truly mattered. The legacy of the Veros and the Vice went back hundreds, even thousands of years. Much of its known history was connected to the Catholic Church of medieval times. The cathedrals of old had been built, or at least commissioned, as training hubs and meeting places for the Veros elders, champions, paladins, and adepts, and over time, it had become much more secretive. The Vice's history was much less substantive, and even the librarian herself didn't know most of it. Oliver figured he would have to wait to find that out from Mr. Bates after school on Monday. More importantly, and this was the part that got Rory overly excited, Earth was not the only world on which this conflict raged. The war between Veros and Vice extended far beyond the solar system. Legend had it that the Milky Way galaxy was just a small part of a great galactic alliance that spanned many galaxy superclusters. Earth, according to Dominus Holly, wasn't even a bit player in universal affairs at this point. It hadn't been significant since before the First Intergalactic War. Why was it significant before? Oliver had asked. But Dominus Holly had said that was another conversation for another time. It was enough to know that whatever went on outside Earth was not their problem, and no one paid any attention to them. That was why they kept the Veros and the Vice secret from the general public, so that things didn't explode and draw attention. Rory's focus was not on intergalactic politics, but on more basic concepts.
Ollie, spaceships! Spaceships means going to space, which means getting space tech for space inventions to impress space babes.
The space babes already have the space tech, Rory. They were in space before you, Oliver told him, but Rory was not to be discouraged. He kept practicing with a bright blade, as well, even though in his hands it was less of an energy weapon and more of a thin bat with a tip. He also kept asking endless questions about all the different devices stored down in the cathedral, and Miss Turner was more than happy to tell him all about them. She was a bit of a techie herself, and Marcel was not interested in the slightest. Oliver was happy that Rory could have something to do while he trained for his great destiny. He wanted Rory with him the whole way, and he would have enjoyed this whole beginning much less if Rory had been left out. On Saturday night, he lay awake in bed and thought of the great victory he would win over the leader of the Vice, the Kaidat whatever his name was, the Dark Lord or something. He would be the hero then. He might even be crowned the new Galactic Emperor, and he would be a good one instead of an evil one. He started to think of all the laws he would abolish and the ones he would pass, but then he realized he needed to know more about the galaxies he would rule before he could decide on how to run things. Sunday was difficult for him and put those dreams slightly into perspective. His first sparring session with Marcel had ground to a screeching halt when the larger boy had punched him in the gut, knocking the wind out of him. He hadn't even seen it coming. It was Dominus Holly's first lesson to him in how to use his latent connection to the Vigor to shield himself from physical blows. It would help him land from high jumps, resist the use of other Vigor powers used against him, and give him greater physical strength and durability. Eventually, it would expand his powers and help him choose a potential. And if you choose the Might, Bairu, remember that your first duty is to the innocent, and that often means the weak. Yeah, obviously, Ollie said in response to this. He was about to correct himself and say, yes, Dominus, as required, but she stopped him. No, it is not obvious when you are deep within the Might, she told him. The Vigor does not just change your body. It affects your mind, how you see the world around you. Every potential has its drawbacks, and one of ours is our view of the weak. We look down on them when we ourselves are truly no different. We are not inherently great. It is the choices we make and the lives we save that make us great. I understand, Dominus, Oliver said, and he did. Does Bairu have any other drawbacks? Yes, because the Vigor channeled through us goes mostly to enhancing our physical bodies as warriors, we are less able to counter the telekinesis of Yindir, the pain. Yindir is a power of the mind, and that is also why both Yindir and Bairu are combined into Grendu. Yellow and blue together create green, and thus training both body and mind equally is a delicate balance. That balance is very difficult to achieve. Dominus, why is it called the pain? Oliver asked. Dominus Holly pondered how best to answer him as they walked from the training room down toward the elevator, but she shook her head. "You will have to ask Miss Diaz when she teaches you about it," she told him. "I will only say that she has been through more in 1 year than most practitioners of Yindir will be put through in a lifetime. She does not want this, but it is her duty to the Fellowship to see that you are trained. She cares deeply for you." Oliver knew this, but hearing it from Dominus Holly felt different, like it was validating what he had experienced before. "When will we start?" he asked. "Whenever she decides both you and she are ready," she said. As they reached the elevator, Marcel met them. His hair was still wet from the shower he'd taken after putting Oliver through the ringer in the training room. He rubbed his stubby, damp hair and smelled like soap. He signed goodbye to Oliver with a smile, and when Oliver signed it back, his grin got even bigger. He gave Oliver a hearty high five that hurt Ollie's arm before the elevator door opened. When he had exited the library, he found Selena waiting for him at the front door. She greeted him with a bright smile. "Hi," he said. "I thought I was meeting Rory." "He texted me and asked me to walk you home instead. His dad wants him in the shop tonight." "Oh," said Oliver. He thought, "He's probably extremely jealous that I'm spending alone time with Selena right now." But what he said was, "He's probably sad that we're hanging out without him." "He'll live," Selena smirked. "I wanted to spend this evening just being friends before—" She trailed off, and Oliver knew what she meant. "Lena," he said, "I have so many questions." "Not tonight, Ollie," she murmured. "No, I know. I just want you to know that even though I have lots of questions, I know this is hard for you, and I'm here for you when you need me." She gave him that look again, that one with all the love and affection that he could sense from her. Was it as a friend, or was it something more? They strode down the street together, chatting about the day, about school tomorrow, homework, Selena's recent shift at the cafe. They talked about anything other than the Vigor, Oliver's training, or what had happened with Aubrey at the cafe that had started all this. Except they did talk about Marcel a bit, how he lived at the cathedral, and what his workout routine must be to have gotten so huge at his age. Apparently these last few days, Oliver had only seen a small portion of the cathedral. Only Miss Turner, they called her that when they weren't training, knew all the secrets beneath the library, and she was slowly revealing them to Oliver and his friends over time. After talking about that, the feeling of adventure returned to Oliver's insides, and he was bold for the rest of the evening. He bought Selena ice cream at Ken's frozen custard parlor, and they sat outside talking for 2 hours, watching the sun go down. 3 more times, Oliver got that look from her again. Each time he tried to work up the courage to kiss her, or even to hold her hand, but it just wasn't there. He had the feeling he was going to regret not making his move that night, look back on it, and think to himself, "Man, I could have done it." But instead he let her walk him home, gave her a ridiculous high five at the end of the driveway, and lay awake in bed that night imagining how it would have been if he'd had the guts to go for it. "I bet once I achieve my destiny and destroy the vice, even Rory will be jealous at all the attention I'm getting from women. But still, I'll probably only have eyes for Selena Diaz." Then he realized if she was going to be his teacher and train him in the pain, trying to kiss her was going to be a lot harder and more awkward. "I really should have gone for it."